All right. Yes. Call our finance committee meeting to order and the public comment period for 2026-2027 budget. Do we have anyone here?
Yeah, picked up.
Seeing none, take us through the list.
Well, I think the first couple slides, we went over our public hearing with the county council, and just want to say thank you to all the board members, Mr. Lee, Dr. Wimberly, and also Ms. Bates for their help, and also with Tina. We thought it was a great presentation, how we put it together. So we really appreciate your time and effort to help us put that out there of what we're trying to accomplish with our budget. So, but getting back to what the budget is, our priorities have not changed. And so when we went over this with our county council, obviously we're looking at additional student behavior supports. Again, teacher quality recruitment and retention is is an important aspect of this budget. Also with administrator quality recruitment and retention, and then also with our classified staff. So we're trying to address those 4 buckets. And as what you will see in this presentation, we will do that. And so I will turn it over to Ms. Vignette.
We'll just go through this briefly because we've all seen it before, but if there are any other questions that anybody has, we haven't received any updated numbers from the county at this time. Again, as Mr. Doherty, thank you to you as well. You did great in your presentation last week to the county council.
Thank you. Team effort.
Absolutely. One of the important things that we like to address is that we have different sources of funds. This slide indicates for classrooms and operations, our general fund, where we house all of our funding or to pay teachers that come through the general fund. We get state classrooms from the state. This is where we keep our local property tax revenues. And most of our funding does come from the state, and we'll show that slide in a bit. But the second bucket, the special revenue funds, that's mainly some federal dollars that we get, title, IDEA, and these are supplemental dollars that we get.
I was going to ask you, so thank you for pointing that out. Supplemental means what? It's not part of our regular budget,
It's not
correct?
part of our regular operating budget. This is above and beyond to handle specific needs for students in greater need for lower income and lower achievement. It's for the title programs, and then for IDEA is for special needs students. Again, it's above and beyond.
And not all of our schools are Title I schools, correct?
That's correct.
So that's what I figured. So not all schools get Title I funds.
That is correct.
Okay, good. I want to point that out.
And the EIA funds are also from the state. We get additional state aid classrooms money, which is flexed over to the operations in our general fund that helps to pay for teachers as well. Our next source of funds, these are specifically for capital projects. We have our 8% funding, which is part of our debt limit used for capital projects. No teacher salaries can be paid out of this bucket. And then the referendum funding that was passed in 2024. Again, it was for that list of all of those projects that are capital projects, not operations or teacher salaries. Here's our general fund budget revenues for 2026. And as we said, a lot of our dollars come from state. We have 72% state. We have local taxes of 26%, and a couple of other buckets to make up our 100%. Projected general fund revenue. This looks the same as y'all have seen before. Our FY26 budgeted revenues, we are right at 300 million. Proposed revenues for next year are 310, which results from local property taxes that were of an increase in our fee in lieu of tax, and also our local property taxes from commercial businesses, industry, vehicle taxes, but no properties that are held by primary residents. No homeowners pay anything towards local property taxes, thanks to Act 380. So that was $6.3 million in additional funds. Those were the budget figures projected from the auditor. So that's where we based our numbers from. The next increase is in our state revenue in lieu of taxes. That's tier 3. That's information we received from the Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office. That's the funding that's supposed to make up for the Act 388 penny sales tax that we get as our portion for Dorchester too. The next 3 items are the state aided classrooms for the general fund, the EIA fund, and the career and technology EIA fund, which those 3 kind of go together. So that net is 1.6 million. We've explained that the funding formula was changed at the state level, where the career technology portion of the formula was taken out of the regular state aided classrooms formula, and it was calculated all on its own. But it's the same weighting, it's everything the same, it was just pulled out separately. And we use that funding for the career and technology education programs that we have here in our district. We have pointed out that the career school in Dorchester, where we do send students, gets funding from the county as a separate millage. So they are funded separately. Other districts have joint agreements with other districts to cover the career and technology programs that they have in a separate building.
So the way in which they've gone about handing this money is different because they pulled that out in aggregate compared to last year. Is it roughly the same? Or you said it was
It was a $1.6 million increase between all 3 of those categories. So the total increase in revenues is $10 million for next year. Okay. Lisa's going to start talking about this slide.
So this chart shows the history of our allowable millage increase and what we've used over the last several years. As you know, we're allowed to request an increase in operating millage based on CPI increase and population growth for our district each year. That allowable millage increase is shown in third column on the left. For FY27, our millage increase limitation amount is just over 10 mils on the bottom 2026-2027 line. Also under that state law, we're able to utilize up to a total of the FY27 allowable plus 3 years looking back. For FY27, that totals 54.66 mils. We are not asking for that. That's just showing that what we are technically allowed to ask for under the law.
And the value of our mill is still 465 or 65,000, correct?
Last
584.
information from the auditor.
Okay.
Then we're going to move into our expenditures. Again, these are graphs that you've seen before that haven't changed, but this is just showing our breakdown of expenditures by functional area for FY26. And those first 5 categories: instruction support, school management, transportation and safety and facilities, along with technology services, relate to direct operations of schools and students in the classroom. And those categories total 96.8% of our 2026 operating budget. And then the next slide is our expenditures again, but broken down by object group, showing that our salaries and benefits make up 86%, just over 86% of our budget. And just a quick review of starting teacher salaries for FY26. This chart shows our starting first year bachelor's degree level teacher and our neighboring districts. And we do like to point out that if you looked at and we have looked at before, the graph of the value of 1 mil for each of these districts, the graph would look pretty much the same. Because it's showing that teacher salaries are tied to the ability of districts to generate local taxes due to their tax bases and their properties within. We are at a disadvantage in this area because we have more owner-occupied properties than our neighbors. With the exception of DD4, our starting salary is lower than the rest, but we still are trying to compete to attract and retain the same talent.
and all of those numbers are actually from last year,
For this year that we're in right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not projected for next year.
Correct.
25, 26.
And if you go back to that real quick, and, and I think something to point out, I think we have been talking, I think when you're looking at projected salaries, I think for next year, I think DD4 is looking to go to 53,000. Next year with their budget, I know ours is proposed to go to 54. I believe Berkeley, I believe was like, I think 58.
We have a couple options.
Couple options there. Buford obviously is going to go up significantly, and I think Charleston's supposed to go to 67. So again, our current budget is to go to 54. If you look kind of where DD4 is, they're 49,225. You know, almost 1,500 behind us, a little bit more than that. And if we're able to get to 54, and they're going to go to 53, we'll stay about 1,000 more than what they. So, and again, I think it's people need to understand. It costs us to give our teachers a raise. What is it? $500 was
To
1.25.
yeah, 1.25 million to give our teachers is $500. And so it's a little bit more than what they pay surrounding districts who have more teachers. So it takes a lot more money for us to bring up everybody. So
Actually, if you round numbers off, DD2 and DD4 will be at par.
yes, that is, yeah. Yeah. Good point.
Okay, this is a review of our history of our starting teacher salary here in DD2. Since 2018, we've been able to increase the starting salary of teachers by over $15,000, which is a 43% increase, which is a great increase over that period of time. And we would like to continue that and stay as competitive as we can. On the slide that follows, you'll see that we're proposing to increase $2,500, which we already just said, which would bring our starting salary to $54,000, which would be a 4.85% increase over this current year. Okay, now we're into our details for next year out of our historical information and into our projections.
We'll just do kind of a quick synopsis since we've gone over this several times, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the big thing here, if you can see, when we went through allocations, with our academic department, you can see projected reductions in elementary or 28 positions, reduced 5 positions in middle school, high school, 3 positions, projected reductions in district office positions, 1.5. And then we had to reallocate some of those positions to go back into for the 26 school year for enrollment changes and then also special services. So really, we're only down 8.3 positions. So when you look at it over the course of the last 2 years, we have right-sized the district almost 52 positions. Basically 53 positions, something like that. Excuse me, 63. I'm sorry, 63 positions. Yeah, we did 52 last year. So we're close to 61 positions that we have tried to right size the district. And so this year, again, another 8 positions here. So our team has worked really hard to try to reallocate positions where students are at and a direct need where students are at, direct impact. So that's what we've tried to do there when we look at this sheet.
This next slide shows our mandates and required increases, which include our mandates from the state for a teacher step increase and the 2% increase to the state minimum salary schedule for bus drivers. And we also know that we have received projected increases for the costs of our SROs from municipalities that we get those services from. The second section is our district priorities, which shows linked to those priorities Mr. Doherty talked about at the beginning. Some areas that we wanted to address there. The first is step for classified staff to go along with the step for teachers at the top. $1,000 increase to all steps on the teacher salary scale, which would bring that to 52.5. And you'll see going forward, we want to do a little bit more. 1% increase for classified and certified staff not paid on the teacher scale. With the behavior supports, establishing the elementary alternative program and adding a director of student concerns, and then adjusting school-based leadership and district office administrator salaries to define salary scales. And then this last detailed slide shows our other salary priorities and other student behavior support priorities. But implementing these would require a millage increase with the information that we have at this time. And those include adding another 1,500 to the teacher salary scale. That's how we get to the 54,000. An additional 1% for classified and other staff, special education stipends for our low incidence programs, and then other student behavior support priorities, which include an expansion of the virtual in lieu of suspension option and some additional social workers, board certified behavior analysts, and registered behavior technicians. Summarizing all that, those expenditure requests total $14.7 million. And all of those would require a millage increase of just over 10 mils.
Yeah, so this is the, everything in a nutshell on the same page, your summary of our 27 budget needs and with the revenues that we've been projected to receive here so far to date. The projected revenues that we just discussed on the last slide of 310 million. But as Lisa said, our request for increase of expenditures is 14.7. So the yellow area is the amount of additional funding we would need, $4.6 million to bring us in balance. So we started with our budgeted expenditures for last year and showed all the reductions and the increases as we've gone over those previous slides. And again, that would bring us to $314,803,520 for a budget for 26-27, with 10 mils needed to balance that. Well, this is a slide showing what that millage increase would cost for a business that has an assessed value of $500,000 for commercial property. Again, no primary resident homeowners pay taxes. So a 10 mil increase would be $300 on those businesses, additional $300. Less than $1 a day, you said. So these are some areas that are still needs, but we weren't able to include those in this budget request. We'll have to probably bring those same things back next year. The total of those is $3.9 million. This is just a copy of our budget calendar, and we are getting close to the bottom. We're on May 18th, where we're having our official public hearing. The next step would be the school board approval of the budget on June 8th. Hoping that we can get some other numbers from the county so that we would know what their support would be for this year. They don't have their final budget reading until June 15th. So in the past, we've known if they were willing to give us more mills, or if there were some additional assessments that we could include. So hoping that'll happen, or else we might have to have a special budget meeting to pass the budget for the school board. I'm with you. So that's where we are with this budget process. That was just the quick version, since you all have heard that before, and any questions that we can help answer.
So at this point, there's the potential that county council could come up with more revenue if the value of the bill is deemed different than what it is.
Correct.
Probably not going to hear any decision on their part as to whether to grant the requested 10.2 mils based on all current projections and everything else until after our next board meeting, when we're supposed to approve our budget.
We've heard from them prior to y'all voting on the budget. Been very confident where we stand.
It could go either way.
Yeah.
So, right, like Tina was saying, I mean, if we haven't heard, then we may have to wait. Right?
Right, and we, even if we were to get some additional funding, if the assessments did come in higher, I think there was a comment that was made when we were presenting that there were $16 million more in assessments. I don't know if, I thought I heard assessments, but maybe she said $16 million. I don't think it's dollars, but that would be about $2 million probably. So we wouldn't be able to get all the way to our 10 mills that we would, that we need, but it could help us to get to the next step on the priority list.
And what about from state perspective, those numbers, those estimates pretty well locked at this point?
They have not officially adopted their budget either, but I don't,
You don't anticipate those changing, do
do
you?
not anticipate that those will change. But we can never count our chickens.
So that conference committee happens.
Yes. But I feel good about state numbers. I feel good about the county numbers as they stand right now until we hear from the county.
Board members, any thoughts?
My thing is, ever since, I guess I've been in education in South Carolina, I'm trying to figure out, how do they think the districts are able to actually prepare when they haven't finalized their budget?
Okay.
And it's time, we're trying to hire, but we're trying to hire blindly because we don't know what we're actually going to get. Has this always been the way well, you wouldn't know, but, well, you two do.
As long as I've been around.
Does anybody find that strange? How do you plan?
For the fun.
I mean,
Just to keep things interesting.
Yes.
that's crazy.
We concur.
Nobody, no other district have a problem with this?
I mean, I think it's a statewide issue.
Many other districts have
They have more
fiscal
money.
autonomy.
But they have fiscal.
yeah, I
So
forgot
they
about
could,
that.
they could potentially.
Okay, all right. That's another thing that
Yeah.
somebody, all those people that are concerned and tell us how to do things, perhaps they should have a conversation with those in leadership from the state level right on down to the county level and get something done. Because, as far as I'm concerned, my job when I was teaching was to teach. It wasn't for me to find the funds to pay me. And now that I'm on the board, it's still not my job to find the funds. The funds should be supplied and then we determine how we're going to use it. So if anybody out there in
Live streaming land.
get together and have a chat about this, that's really what needs to happen. We need the county, the regular people with all the grandchildren and great grands and the ones they love dearly, in order for us to do the job that we need to do. I mean, 30 years is a long time for me to try to do the little shoestring budget. And now we have more and more issues that we have to deal with. So we need more money, people. Thank you.
So all we can do is document our assumptions. We have the estimates that we've been given. We won't know the official version of those estimates potentially until after our next board meeting, when according to our calendar, we're supposed to make a decision as a board what the budget is. So assuming we have not heard anything different by June 8th, what version of the budget do we approve? Do we approve just the district priorities up to that line where there's no millage increase?
I think we wait, don't wait until.
I mean, we
We-
could
we do
wait.
a
I mean, I guess
call-
guess either
we would call
option
a
is
meeting,
possible. We
Probably.
could do that, or we could wait until after their final.
I would
reading.
hate like
And
them
then
to
have a
come back
call.
and say that they would give it to us and then we approved a budget that didn't cover all the
Right,
needs, but I would also hate to just, assume they're going to
I'm not comfortable with voting on.
help us.
I mean, technically, we don't need our official budget until July 1st, so if we need to delay our vote, we could.
Which I feel like we
We have
have
to have a
done
call meeting.
before.
If we had a call meeting, if we need to
We
do a
have to
call
have a
meeting,
call
we do.
meeting.
I'd say
We don't
do
have
call
one on
meeting.
the calendars.
So.
Good question.
I would support that. I would suggest if we don't have the final numbers approved from county council and the state for that matter, at our next board meeting, we defer taking a vote.
I support that. typically have their final ordinance prepared to be read at their third reading earlier than their meeting. And then that's when we would see how much they would be giving to the school district. But hopefully we can have some conversations for then. I know that we had the public hearing this evening and they were supposed to have a meeting today, is my understanding.
Any other matters of interest from a finance standpoint that we need to discuss?
Budget's the biggest thing right now. We still have lots of projects going on and we uploaded some information to be voted on this evening. That include financial numbers and vendors that we'll leave confidential until y'all approve it or not. But if you have any questions about any of that, we can answer it.
Any other public comments?
Many.
Better productive.
Board member?
I'm sure they'll be on. Jim. Thank
Yeah,
you, Jim.
thank you, Mr. Lee.
Check
Thank
the
you all.
Facebook later.
See anybody?